Keir Starmer has continued to gaslight the general public today in an interview he conducted with Sky News. Starmer has defended his previous comments, labelling a national inquiry into grooming gangs as a far-right bandwagon. In an attempt to try and rewrite history, Starmer has now decided to state that he was talking about the Tories, who were demanding an inquiry they never set up when they were in government. In an attempt to deflect the blame from himself and the Labour Party for the cover-ups, the smearing of the general public by calling them far-right and all of the other failures his party achieved, he instead decided to blame other politicians instead with absolutely unhinged comments. He said, "I am frustrated with politics when people shout and scream a lot and do nothing when they have got the opportunity to do it. It's one of the worst aspects of politics, in my view."
Prime Minister, as a former prosecutor, you brought first prosecutions for child rapists 15 years ago. I just want to put that on record, your record. But your decision now to hold an inquiry into grooming gangs after refusing 6 months ago to do so has sparked anger. Keir Starmer says you owe victims an apology. That irritates you, doesn't it? You don't think you do owe anyone an apology, do you?
Well, my frustration is on those that don't focus on the victims. I won't go over the last 15 years, but I brought the first prosecution 15 years ago in relation to these grooming cases. I then changed all the guidelines in criminal justice.
So does this irritate you?
I then called for mandatory
Does it irritate
reporting.
you that people are accusing you of not dealing with the
I
situation?
try to remain courteous at all times, but when politicians who were themselves in power, such as Keir Starmer, and did absolutely nothing. When people like me were calling for mandatory reporting, but that fell on deaf ears. So I stand on my record.
You accuse politicians like Badenoch of jumping on a bandwagon for the far right. Was that misjudged to put it in those terms? Do you wish you hadn't said that now?
I was really clear that I was talking about politicians.
I know, I just said that.
Yeah, and I do think that those politicians need to answer the question, which is why, when you were in power and had the opportunity to do something,
but do you wish you hadn't conflated it with right-wing bandwagon, because that's not what people's concerns about grooming gangs weren't necessarily right-wing. Do you sort of wish you hadn't said it?
I don't. I've never implied that other people with genuine concerns, and certainly not victims. I've been working with victims. I've seen firsthand
it's not
the
a
impact it
right-wing
has
bandwagon,
on
is it?
victims. But I was calling out those politicians. I mean, I am frustrated in politics when people shout and scream a lot and do nothing when they got the opportunity to do it. It's one of the worst aspects of politics, in my view.
In a complete flip-flop move by the Prime Minister when talking to GB News, Christopher Hope challenged him over his far-right slur, which the majority of the general public took great offence to. Starmer decided to change his tune and state he wasn't talking about the public at all, and instead just politicians. He said, "No, no, no, and I'm certainly not criticising your viewers."
When you said to me in January in that hospital, you said that it's a far-right bandwagon if you're calling for national inquiry. I know you're talking about politicians, but a lot of GB News viewers and listeners were also concerned, and they felt you were calling them far-right. Would you perhaps regret that remark?
Well, I wasn't calling them far-right. Now, Chris, I think you may have been in the room, and
yes, I was there.
You will have known. I said expressly, politicians, and I mean politicians, and I was expressly calling out politicians who had been in office and done nothing, and it was them that I was criticising.
It's not a far-right issue, is it?
No, and I certainly wasn't criticising your viewers, but I think if you look at what I said, and I know you have done carefully and you'll have listened to it, I'm very, very explicit, because there's one thing that I find frustrating. It's politicians who had the opportunity in power to do something about it and did absolutely nothing. Now claiming, late to the issue, that the only ones that have ever raised the issue. I've been raising this issue for 15 years. I'm really glad that I'm the Prime Minister that's actually now put in place a national inquiry, something which wasn't done over the last...
Well, we're challenging them too. So Keir Starmer, thank you for joining us today on GB News. Thank you.
Thank you.
How much more can the Prime Minister flip-flop, change his mind, and generally can never commit to anything at all? One week he says one thing, the next something else. Is this the end of the road for the Labour Party? How can they possibly move on for this? It is time for a general election to be called as the Labour government is unviable. The longer they stay in power, the more damage they will cause with their cover-ups and their now ongoing attempt to try and change history to fit their narrative.